Hello, football fans. Dan Hardenbrook, glad to have you along. Welcome inside as we get ready to look back on week 2 of the high school football season and get you ready for the third weekend with some big games on the slate coming up. What a week it was to kick off the holiday weekend last Thursday and Friday with big games all around the region. The Bulldogs win big again. The Newberry Indians chop down their biggest rivals. Pickford looks like the unforgettable powerhouse of the past, and a perfectly laid plan is shaping up for Cedarville Detour. Also, the home teams holding serve, one of the key trends in week number 2. As the dust settles on the holiday weekend, we welcome you inside. Looking back on week 2 of the high school football season, the Newberry Indians, a big win on Thursday night. They get the axe back from Munising. First time since 2017 that the Indians win their regular season showdown with the Mustangs, avenge those 2 losses from last year. Newberry topping Munising 16-6 to bring home the annual battle for the Axe. Newberry sits at 2-0 on the season, and they will hit the road for the first time this season this coming Friday night when they are in Rudyard to battle the Bulldogs. First place in the Great Lakes 8 East will be on the line as the undefeated and nearly unstoppable Bulldogs will play host to the Newberry Indians. Rudyard, their second straight blowout win last week on Friday night as they took down Rapid River 58-0. How about the first 2 weeks for Coach Jimmy Suggett and company? Cam Peterson and Aiden Bickle have been on fire as the Bulldogs have blown out both Munising and now Rapid River, and they get an old-fashioned Straits Area Conference style showdown rivalry from years ago. Big game here because the winner of this one will have the control of that conference title race and possibly inside track on home field advantage in the playoffs, have a 1-game lead with the head-to-head tiebreaker in hand at the 1/3 point of the season. Many people have been overlooking Pickford, focusing on the other teams at the top of the league, but the Panthers are sending a message that they too are still in great shape. Pickford, another blowout victory. They trounced Superior Central 68-0. And they are now 2-0 on the season. Coach Josh Rader and company look like they are back on track after a rare miss from the playoffs a year ago. Other week 2 results saw more home teams winning their contest. Brimley, a 56-0 win over Mid-Peninsula in 11-man action. It was Ishpeming holding off the Munising Emeralds to pick up a 28-22 victory, in Cedarville Detour over Engadine 36-6. Coach Scott Barr rebuilt the Islanders' schedule to put them in a better position to not only compete physically, but in schools of more of their style of play and school size. And the plan to go independent for Cedarville Detour, kind of rebuild their program back up, has led to a 2-0 start for the Silver and Black, and they look to keep their season rolling as we move into week 3. We'll talk about all the big matchups coming up in just a minute. Time now to get you ready for week number 3. Some big ball games on the schedule. Newberry traveling to Rudyard. It's the game of the week in the East End this week for the 8-man football teams. First place in the Great Lakes 8 East on the line. These 2 teams have played some great contests over the past couple years. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 strong defenses to start the season. Rudyard has not been in a close matchup yet, while the Indians overcame a slow start against Brimley in week 1 to roll and then won that slugfest with Munising last week. Friday night, 7 o'clock to kick off in the varsity contest. The boys from the Rudyard Bulldog Bulletin will have the broadcast for you. You can catch that live video on the E.U.P Sports Network Facebook page. We will be in Munising for our first 11-man broadcast of the year as Coach Steve Pugh's Emeralds look for their first win on the season. A couple of close losses. They are 0-2, taking on 1-1 Gwynn. That's a Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff from Hall Stadium in downtown Munising. Engadine looks to get their first win on the season. Been a tough start physically for the Eagles. Several players already out of the lineup with injuries. Engadine just trying to hang on. Led south of the bridge to battle Onaway. Cardinals are 1-1 after a week 1 forfeit. They picked up their first victory this past weekend. Pickford and Brimley will go at it in a Great Lakes 8 East matchup. Panthers trying to get to 3-0. If they win this one, they will be in a tie for first place in the Great Lakes 8 East. Brimley, maybe the surprise team to start the season. The Bays enter at 1-1. Cedarville Detour looks to keep their perfect start going and a perfectly laid plan. They could be a third of the way through a potentially undefeated season as the Islanders put their 2-0 record on the line against Bear Lake. St. Ignace was the one lone road team on the East End to win their matchup last week. Now the 2-0 Saints off to a dominant start in their 8-man football era. They will travel to Alcona to take on a 2-0 squad down there. Hope that you can join us. Enjoy the games wherever you're headed this weekend. And as always, follow along with us all season long. Live broadcasts, exclusive content and interviews that you can't find anywhere else. The most exciting action from the E.U.P. Indians at Bulldogs Friday night. Emeralds playing host to win. Your two broadcast games on our networks. Hope that you can join us. Have a great week from M123 FM and the E.U.P. Sports Network.